So last class we had stopped our discussion at the shifting of origin concept, and we had learned that if the origin is shifted, how does it impact the coordinates of a point and how does it impact the equation of a given curve. Okay, so today I'm going to add more to that, and I'm going to include the concept of rotation of axes. So let's talk about rotation of axes. Okay, so just like shifting of origin makes an impact on the coordinates of a point as well as the equation of a curve, in the similar way, rotation of axes will also change the coordinates of a point and equation of a curve. So how does it change? First, let us understand why at all the rotation of axes will basically change the coordinate of a point. Okay, so let's say if I have a point over here. Okay, let's say this point is x comma y, right? Let's say I rotate my coordinate axes by an angle of theta, let's say anti-clockwise direction. Okay, let's say I rotate it by an angle of theta anti-clockwise direction. Okay, so initially this was your x-axis, this was your y-axis, correct? And we all know that your small x is basically the distance of this point from the y-axis. Okay, so this is the directed distance, and y basically is the distance of the point from the x-axis, correct? So if I rotate my axes so that it becomes capital X and capital Y, can I say the very same point, this would become its new x coordinates, okay, and this would become its new y coordinate, isn't it? Okay, so the same point will now be known by capital X and capital Y, where capital X represents the distance, the directed distance from the new y-axis, and capital Y will represent the directed distance from the new x-axis, correct? So of course, as you can all know, see that the white x line and the yellow x line are not the same, right? The white y line and the white yellow line, they are not the same, correct? So things are going to change. Okay, what is happening? Look at the topic's name, rotation of axes. So we are talking about how, if the coordinate axes are rotated, how the coordinates of a point and how the equation of a curve will change. That is what we are talking about. Correct? Madhav, clear? Okay. Now, how do I figure out what is the new x coordinate and what is the new y coordinate? One thing that you would appreciate here is that the distance from the origin is not going to get impacted. That means this distance, let's say I call it as r, this distance r is not going to change because origin is not changing its position. Origin is still at the same point, correct? So r is not going to change. That is, the distance from the origin is not going to change. Now this gives a hint that we could use polar coordinates to know what is my new coordinates of that point. So we could use polar coordinate system, which was given to us by Newton, Isaac Newton, to know what is the new coordinate of this point. Now, I hope all of you remember, just a quick recap of polar coordinates, that polar coordinates basically use the distance of a point from the pole and the angle made by the line connecting that point with the x-axis. So let's say I have a point P. So normally we represent this point by stating its distance from the origin. Okay, that is what we call as r, and stating this angle which is called theta, correct? So this point is basically represented in polar coordinates like r comma theta, isn't it? Okay, this is something which we had learned in our trigonometry chapter itself. So if the x and the y coordinates of this point are as given, then x is r cos theta and y is r sin theta, correct? Okay, so this is the relation that we all know. Let us use this information to get what would be the new coordinates of the given point. Okay, now let's say this point originally made an angle of, let's say my coordinate axes are rotated by an angle of phi. Okay, let's say I rotate this by an angle of phi. Okay, and let's say initially this this angle was theta. Okay, let's say initially this angle was theta. Okay, so we all know that our x coordinate would be r cos theta and y coordinate will be r sin theta, correct? Okay, now when the coordinate axes are rotated, what will be this angle? What will be this angle? Obviously it will be theta minus phi, isn't it? Okay, so can I say the capital X, or that is the new abscissa of the point P, would be r cos theta minus phi, correct? And the new ordinate would be r sin theta minus phi by the very same logic. So this capital X that you see is basically this length. Okay, that would be clearly r cos theta minus phi. And capital Y that you see is clearly this length, which is r sin theta minus phi. Am I right? Am I right? Okay. So now let us see what it results into when we expand it. So we all know our compound angle identities. So this will give me cos theta cos phi plus sin theta sin phi. Okay. Similarly, y I will write it at slightly distance. So this will be r sin theta cos phi minus cos theta cos theta sin phi. Okay. Now let us expand this. Let us expand this. So this will give me r cos theta cos phi r sin theta sin phi. Okay. Now I purposely bracketed r cos theta and r sin theta because r cos theta is what? R cos theta is your x. Correct. So I can write this as x cos phi, isn't it? And r sin theta is what? R sin theta is y, as you can see here. Correct. So r sin theta is y, so I can write this as y sin phi. Okay. So what do we have? We have now our new x coordinate. Okay. So please make a note of this. This is our new x coordinate now. Okay. Now you can see here that the new x coordinate depends upon y also, the old y, right? Of course, angle is involved, but old y coordinate is also involved in finding your new x. Okay. Similarly, if I simplify this one, I get r sin theta cos phi minus r cos theta sin phi. Okay. So if you see this term, this is actually y cos phi minus x sin phi. Okay. Let me just rearrange and write it. So your y will become negative x sin phi plus y cos phi. So please make a note of this. This will be your new y coordinate. Okay. So the new x coordinate and the new y coordinate both are functions of the old x and y as well as the angle of rotation. Is this fine? Okay. So just to summarize this, what we did now, when we rotate the axes by an angle of theta, the new x coordinate becomes by an angle of phi. If the rotation is done by an angle of phi, okay, then the new x coordinate becomes x cos phi plus y sin phi, and new y coordinate becomes minus x sin phi plus y cos phi. Okay. Now, few things to be noted over here. Phi should be taken as a positive angle if the rotation is happening in an anti-clockwise direction. So if the rotation is in an anti-clockwise direction, just like the normal sign convention of the angles that we learned in trigonometry. And it should be taken as a negative angle if the rotation is in clockwise direction. Is that fine? Okay. Now I would like you all to do this small activity for me. Tell me, if capital X is given by this, capital Y is given by this, can you give me a relation? Can you convert this relation in such a way that your small x is in terms of capital X and capital Y, of course, along with phi, and small y is in terms of capital X and capital Y, in terms, of course, along with phi. So give me small x and small y in terms of capital X and capital Y and the angle of rotation. Similarly, give me small y in terms of capital X, capital Y, and the angle of rotation. Please do this exercise, a small trick question, treat it like a small trick question and solve it. It's not the same, Anurag, there will be a small change. If you square and add it, Pranav, you will see something very strange. In fact, that is a reality also. X square plus y square will be equal to capital X square plus capital Y square. This is what you will get when you square them and add it. Okay. And this is true because your R is not getting changed. Your R is not getting changed. So the distance from the origin is not getting changed, and hence x square plus y square will be same as capital X square plus capital Y square. You are not going to get you're not going to get small x and small y in terms of capital X and capital Y. Okay. Okay, very good. So Hariharan is saying, I'm going to change phi with a negative phi. Is it correct? You are absolutely correct, Hariharan. Very good. Wow, awesome. So your answer is going to be, I'm just going to change it over here itself. Your answer is going to be, your small x will be capital X cos phi minus capital Y sin phi, and this will become capital X sin phi plus capital Y cos phi. Okay. This formula is more important than the previous one. Why it is more important than the previous one is because this will help you. This will be useful. I'll write it down over here, because it will be useful in finding the new equation of the curve. Okay. This will be useful in finding the new coordinates. This will be useful in finding the new coordinates of a point. So both the formulas have their own importance. Okay. So if you rotate your coordinate axes, what will be the new coordinates? This formula will help you, the yellow one. And if there is a curve given and you're rotating the axes, what will be the new equation? The white one will help you with that. Are you getting my point here? Is it clear? Any questions, any concerns here? Okay. Let us take a small question on this. Let's take a small question on this. Please note down all the formulas that we have discussed on this page. That is these two, sorry. These two formulae, this and this. Now, many people would have this question in their mind that can both the things happen? Can shifting of origin and rotation of axes can happen together? Yes, it can happen. You can have a complicated question like this. And does the order matter? So let's say I'm shifting the origin and rotating the axes, or I'm rotating the axis and then shifting the origin. Will it make a difference to my final answer? What do you think? What's your opinion? Yes, it will not matter. Absolutely. It will not matter. Okay. Is that clear? Okay, let's have questions. Let's have questions. Questions are the best way to understand these concepts. So let me take a question here. The question is, if the axes are rotated, if the axes are rotated, axes are rotated anti-clockwise, anti-clockwise by 45 degrees, by 45 degrees, find number one, the new coordinates, the new coordinates of 2 comma 3. Number two, the new equation, the new equation of 3x square plus 2xy plus 3y square equal to 10. Try this, all of you. Put your response on the chat box with the proper question number. Oh, once again, Vaibhav, I'll go back to the previous slide. Yeah. What do you want to copy from this? Got it? Can I go back now? Find the new coordinates of 2 comma 3 and find the new equation of this curve. Okay, very good. So please try the next part also. No worries, Bharat, you are there in the list. Don't worry. Okay, let us discuss this. The first thing is, if you want to know the new coordinates, the new coordinate is x cos phi plus y sine phi, and new y coordinate is minus x sine phi plus y cos phi. Okay, so capital X would be 2 cos phi. Cos phi will be 1 by root 2. 3 sin phi is also 1 by root 2. Okay. Capital Y will be again minus 2 1 by root 2 plus 3 1 by root 2. Okay. So this is going to give you X is equal to 5 by root 2 and Y is going to be 1 by root 2. So 5 by root 2 comma 1 by root 2 would be your new coordinates of 2 comma 3. Let me check who all got it. Okay, absolutely correct. Anurag has got it. Adrija, just check. Yeah, your answer is also correct, Adrija. Very good. Okay. Now, what is the new equation? So for the new equation, the formula that would be useful is your small x is capital X cos phi minus capital Y sin phi, and small y is capital X sin phi plus capital Y cos phi. Correct? That means you can write your small x as capital X by root 2 minus capital Y by root 2. And you can replace your small y by capital X plus capital Y by root 2. Okay. So in this equation, you need to make these two replacements. So 3x square. Instead of x square, you will write this. Okay. Plus 2xy. 2xy, you would write this. Okay. Plus 3y square. Plus 3y square. 3y square equal to 10. Okay, let us simplify this. Now we can write this as 3 by 2 x minus y the whole square. This will be x square minus y square, and this will be 3 by 2 x plus y the whole square equal to 10. Okay, so these two will give me, if I'm not mistaken, 3 by 2 times x square 2 times y square. This will give me x square minus y square equal to 10. That means my answer will be 3x square 3y square plus x square minus y square equal to 10. And that is nothing but 4x square plus 2y square is equal to 10. Means 2x square plus y square is equal to 5. Okay. Normally, when we are writing our final answer, we avoid using capital alphabets. Okay. So normally, if you see any equation, you'll never find it written in terms of capital X and capital Y. So what do? We write it in terms of just small x and small y. Just small x and small y. Okay. So this would be your new equation of the given curve. This would be the new equation of the given curve. Is this fine? Very good, Aditya. Okay, no problem with this concept. Any questions, any concerns, do let me know. Okay, so with this, we are now going to talk about the concept of locus. Okay, locus. Locus is one of the most important concepts that you are going to come across in the entire coordinate geometry discussion. Remember, exams like JEE Main, JEE Advanced, and other exams like Manipal, etc., they are very fond of locus questions. Okay. For a JEE prof who is testing you on coordinate geometry, he just wants to know whether you are aware of this concept, which is the concept of locus. All the coordinate geometry chapters that you are going to study, whether it is straight lines, whether it is parabola, ellipse, hyperbola, circles, at the end of the day, they are locus. Okay, so what is this locus, right? And why it is so important? Let us try to understand that. And how do we find the equation of locus? Okay, so first of all, locus is defined as equation of a path, equation of path taken by a moving point satisfying certain condition bracket S. Okay. So locus, they'll say find the locus of this point. Means you have to find the equation of the path taken by that moving point which is satisfying certain condition or conditions. Okay. To give you an example, let us say if I have a point which is moving in such a way that its distance from 1 comma 2, so let's say this is a fixed point, let me call it as A, and there's a moving point, let me call it as point P. This point is moving in such a way that this distance is always 1 unit. Then what would be the path taken by this particular point? So we'll say, sir, the path taken by this would be a circle, correct? So it would be a circle whose radius will be 1 unit and center will be 1 comma 2, correct? So if I say what is the locus of this path, then you will cite the equation of the circle over here. So equation of this circle would be your given locus. Are you getting my point? Okay. Let me take another example. Let's say there is a fixed line. Okay. There's a fixed line whose equation is, let's say, something given to you. Okay. And there is a point which moves in such a way that it is always maintaining a 2-unit distance on this line. So what would be the path taken by this point P? You will say obviously it would be a straight line parallel to this line, correct? Okay, of course, you have to know the equation of this white line to exactly find out the locus of this. But the idea is clear. What is locus? Locus is basically a path, equation of the path which a point will take when it is trying to satisfy a given set of condition or conditions. Okay, and that condition will be given to you in the question. Don't worry about it. Okay, now oval. Anurag, what happened to you today? A point which moves such that its distance from a fixed point is always 1 is an oval. How? The other one, this one, which is always at a distance of 1 unit from a given straight line. No, that would be a line parallel to it, right? It would be a line parallel to it either on this side or on this side. Why will it be an oval? Okay. Could you go back to the previous slide? Pranav, you want me to still go to the previous slide or your job is done? You missed the last statement. Yes, of course, Madhav. The point has to satisfy all the given condition in the question at all times. That's the point of having a locus. At the end of the line, we could... Sir, where does the line end, Anurag? Can you tell me where is the end of a line? Take me to the end of a line. I know exams are coming on, you are under a lot of pressure, but line doesn't end, my dear. It's an infinitely existing, extending geometrical figure. Okay. End of a line. It is not a line segment, my dear. It's a line. Line. Okay. Anyways, so how do we find locus of a point satisfying a given condition? So of course, it depends on question to question. So let me take a simple example. Okay, let me take a simple example and watch how I solve that example. That will tell you how do we find the locus of a given point. Okay. So let's say let's say I take a question here. Okay, just one question I'll take for you, just so that your concept is clear. Okay, let's take this question. Very interesting question. Okay, all of you read this question. There is a stick of length 10 units which rests against the floor. Okay, and a wall of a room. If the stick begins to slide on the floor, find the locus of its middle point. Okay, now you don't have to solve it. Let me solve it and get the idea from it. In fact, while solving, I'll give you some insights, very important insights. Okay, so first of all, let us make a diagram for it, very small diagram. Let's say this is my wall, this is my wall, and this is my floor. Okay, this is your wall, not Rahul Dravid. Sir, what, sir? PJ. Okay, and this is your floor. Okay, now there is a stick which is basically resting against this floor and the wall. Okay, now because of some reason this stick is slipping, so basically this end of the stick is moving away from the wall and this end is coming down towards the floor. Okay, now first of all, we are finding the locus of what? We are finding the locus of the middle point of this stick. Okay, now let's say I call this point as M. Why at all we are finding the locus of this point? Any answer for that? Why at all we are finding the locus? Is it changing? Is the point M changing? You say yes, sir, of course. If the ladder is if the stick is slipping, won't the midpoint change its position? Right. Because the midpoint is changing its position as the stick is slipping against the wall and the floor, it is basically moving, right? So it is a moving point for us, correct? So this condition, it's a moving point for us, correct? Now, what is the constraint under which it is moving? Of course, it is moving in such a way that it has to, its two edges are always attached to the wall and the floor, correct? The two end points of this stick cannot leave the wall and the floor, right? So it is basically, I'm sure you would have experienced this in your real life also. When a ladder slips against the wall and the ground, basically the end point of the ladder is always attached to the floor and the ground, right? So this is the condition I need to fulfill. Okay, so how do I solve this question? Now listen to the approach. This approach is very, very important because it will help you solve almost all the questions on this particular concept. First of all, as a good practice, we always call the point which is moving to be h comma k. Okay, so as a good practice, as a healthy practice, we always name the point which is moving or the point whose locus is required to be h comma k. Correct? Now, while solving this question, you will assume certain things. For example, you will assume that, okay, let this point be a comma 0. Correct? And you'll assume that let this point be 0 comma b. Okay. Now, a and b that you have introduced over here to mention the coordinates of these 2 points are something which we call as parameter. Because you assumed it to solve the given question. The question never said any A and B. Check. Read the question once again. Okay. So the things which you assume to solve a question, that is called a parameter. Now, why we call it as a parameter? Why not an assumed value? Parameter, because this is something which keep on changing. Won't A and B change if the ladder is slipping? So if the ladder comes to this position, let's say I take this position now. Now won't A come here and B 0 comma B come here? So this will be new position of A. Let's say I call it as A dash. This will be new position of B. Let's say I call B dash, right? So as the ladder or as the stick is slipping against these 2 perpendicular surfaces, your A, small a I'm talking about, and small b, they will keep changing. Okay. So something which is changing, but yet not a variable, is called a parameter in the language of maths. Okay, this is very interesting. So other than constant variables, there is a third quantity which we call as a parameter. Okay, so parameter is that particular quantity in maths which is not a variable, but still it is changing. Okay, so here variable is x and y. Okay, so parameters are something which are like changing, but yet they are not called the variables. So for a different parameter, right, you will have different positions of the ladder or of the stick. Try to understand it in this way. Are you getting my point here? I can see some questions coming up. Yes, many people say a changing constant. Yes, a changing constant. But normally we don't use the word changing and a constant. It will be a oxymoron. So we say a quantity which is changing but not yet not a variable, that is called a parameter. You'll see this parameter very frequently when we do coordinate geometry. There is something coming up for you called parametric equations of, in fact in line also you'll get a parametric equation of a line. So we'll talk about it. And how it is different from a variable, you'll come to know that also. Okay. Now, so two things here. One, what did I say? Assume the point name or assume the point's coordinate which is changing to be h comma k. Number one. Second, you may have to assume certain parameters to solve the question. So the parameters here that you have chosen is your small a and small b. Okay. Wait, Madhav, we'll come to that. No, parameters are sometimes important for us to solve the question. Now, if I ask you, what would be your relationship between H, A and B and K, A and B? What will you say? You'll say, sir, simple. I will apply the midpoint formula that we had learned in the very first class. So H will be 0 plus A by 2. And K would be B plus 0 by 2. Correct? That means your A will be 2H and your B will be 2K. Correct? Now, the third step of this problem solving is try to, this is a very important thing, I would write it like a statement. This is the underlying principle of locus questions. You have to get a relation between H and K, thereby eliminating any assumed quantity slash parameter, if any. Okay, so whatever you have assumed to solve it, let's say if at all you have assumed. So I'm not saying every time you'll be assuming something to solve it. Okay, don't get me wrong. If let's say you have assumed something to solve that given question, for example, here small a and small b were something which I assumed to solve my question, I have to eliminate them. That means they should not appear in my final answer. So you can see the options. Does any option talk about A and B? No, because A and B is something which I have chosen to solve the problem. The problem setter never mentioned of any A and B. Okay. So I should get a relation between H and K, thereby eliminating any parameter or assumed value that I have taken in order to simplify my life. Okay. So how will I strike a relationship between H and K? Now, what I can see is that when the ladder is slipping, it will always satisfy the Pythagoras theorem. Correct? No matter what is your A and B value, it will always satisfy A square plus B square is equal to 10 square, isn't it? Right? So A is nothing but 2H, B is nothing but 2K. Correct? So 2H square, 2K square is equal to 100. That means you have 4H square plus 4K square is equal to 100. That means H square plus K square is equal to 25. Okay. Having got this, what do we do? The final step, which is the fourth step of problem solving here, is we generalize H and K as X and Y. Okay. So we change our H with an X and we change our K with a Y. Why? Because H and K was one of the specific instances or one of the very special instances when you found out everything. Now It is a part of a curve. That curve we are looking for, right? That curve is our locus. So what do? We replace that h with an x and k with a y. And when we do that, we end up getting the desired answer, which is this, which is your option number B in the given options. Okay, so is the process clear? I'll repeat once again what is the process. Number one, listen to me first, then we'll discuss about it more. Number one, we first call the point which is moving as h comma k. Very healthy practice. Now many people will question me, sir, ultimately you are putting it as x and y. No sir, why not we take x and y in the beginning? See, you may do it, I'm not denying it, but there is a chance that there would be x and y coming from the variable of a line, and there will be h and k written as x and y by you, and both will get muddled up and will lead to your confusion. Okay, there are certain instances where such a confusion can occur. We'll talk about it when the right time comes. Okay, so as a healthy practice, right, most of you who are doing coding and all, there is a healthy practice to write the name of the variable. Correct, you should not write it as I, J, K and all, because you will tend to get confused, isn't it? Okay, so let's say if you're talking about height, you normally write it as HIGST or HT, right? Length, LEN, like that. Okay, so in the same way, it's a healthy practice to assume the point to be h comma k. Second thing is, you may assume some things to make your life easy. For example, here I assumed the coordinates of point A and point B, as you can see on the screen. Okay, you may also assume this angle. Okay, I'll solve it in another way, and I will do it in another way also. Okay, so fine, you have assumed certain things to solve it. Fine, now get a relationship between h and k, and while you are doing it, eliminate any kind of assumed things in the question. So I don't want any assumed things in the question. After you have struck a relation between h and k, replace h with x, replace k with y, period. Your job is done. Okay, now sounds very simple, but there are questions which you'll find they're not that easy to solve. Okay, that's why they are favorites of JEE Main and JEE Advanced. Okay, JEE Advanced will never entertain an easy concept, as you all know. It's one of the most difficult exams in Asia. So let's try to take some questions based on this and try to understand it. So I'm just introducing the concept to you. This concept is very broad. Probably when we are doing parabola, ellipse, hyperbola, etc. topics, we'll again have these concepts used there. Shashwat has a question. So is it like in limits that if the limit is x, we should eliminate x? No, I don't think so. That is related to that particular thought. Okay, Shashwat, just wait for the right problems to be solved by us to understand this. Okay, as I promised you, I will solve this question in one different way. Okay, so let's say the very same question. Let's say this is my wall, this is my floor, and this is my stick. Okay, the stick length is 10 meters, nothing is changing. Okay, now I want the midpoint's locus. I want the locus of M. Let me call it as h comma k. Okay, now what I'll do is, for a change, I will say, okay, if my ladder is falling, let me call this angle as a theta. Now remember, theta as the stick is slipping will keep on changing. So here theta will become a parameter for you. So theta is something that you have assumed to solve the question, and that would become a parameter for you. Okay. So now how do I solve this? Very simple. If I have this as 10, what will this length become? As per the simple trigonometry, this length will become 10 cos theta. That means, let's say if I call this point as A, then this point would become 10 cos theta comma 0. Okay. Similarly, this length would become 10 sin theta. So if I call this point as a B, B will become 0 comma 10 sin theta. Correct. So can I say H will be 0 plus 10 cos theta by 2? Correct. That means H is equal to 5 cos theta. Similarly, K will be 0 plus 10 sin theta by 2. That means your K would be 5 sin theta. Okay. Now I have to strike a relationship between H and K, thereby eliminating any parameter involved. So theta I want to get rid of, and at the same time I want to link h and k. So what I'll do, I'll first write cos of theta as h by 5, sine of theta as k by 5. Correct? And I know very well if I have to eliminate theta, I can use my famous Pythagorean identity, sine square theta plus cos square theta equal to 1. That means h by 5 whole square, k by 5 whole square equal to 1. Okay, this is my major job done. So I have struck a relationship between h and k, and there is no theta involved here, right? So keep asking yourself, have I got a relationship between h and k? Yes. Is any theta involved here? No. Then my job is done. Almost 99.99% done. Only 0.001% work is generalize this by replacing your h with an x, k with a y, and that's the same answer that we had got over here. Check it out. Same answer. Okay. Another way to solve it. Are you getting my point? So as we solve more questions, you will get better idea about what all approaches are taken to, get a locus of a point. Any questions? Now let me take questions. Yes, Himanshu, M will move as a part of a circle. Himanshu has brought a very good point. Thank you, Himanshu, for bringing that up. Please note that it would not be a complete circle, my dear. It would be a part of a circle. So, okay. So if you really see this, it will be a circle like this. So it will be just tracing a part of the circle. Okay. So locus doesn't mean a full circle will be traced. It cannot trace a full circle because there is a restriction offered by the floor and the wall, right? So it will be a part of a circle, right? It will be a part of a circle. See, Madhav, that is something that you should always take out from your mind. Math is not formula. No. Coding is not syntax, right? So many people say, sir, I know Python, sir, I know Java, I know, Node C. You know syntax. Syntax anybody can learn. What is important is the algorithm, right? What are you using and what are you solving? You're solving a problem. Problem needs algorithm. Problem doesn't need formula. Formula is there to help you to achieve the work. Okay. So JEE Maths, for that matter, maths in general, is not about formula. It's all about application of the brain. Of course, certain redundant things you can do by use of formula. So let us take some questions. Let us understand this locus criteria in more detail. So let's have this question, a very beautiful question. It came in AIEEE 2003. Okay, read the question carefully. Question says, locus of centroid of a triangle whose vertices are given to you, where t is a parameter. Thankfully, they have given that there is a parameter involved. See, the concept of locus comes because there is a movement of a point. Correct. So in this case, you have a triangle. I'm not solving it. I'm just giving you why it is a locus question at all. So there is a triangle like this. Correct. So let's say triangle vertices are A, B, and C. A is given to you as A cos t, comma A sin t. And this is B sin t, comma minus B cos t. And this is 1, comma 0. Okay. Now, centroid, as we all know, we have already done this concept in our first class. Centroid is basically the point of concurrency of the median. Correct. We all know that. Now, why at all G will move? Why at all G will move? Why at all we are finding the locus of it? Ask yourself that question first. G will move because A and B are changing. And why is A and B changing? Is because there is a T involved in their vertices coordinates. So if you vary your T, A and B positions are going to change. If A and B positions are going to change, centroid position is going to change. If centroid position is going to change, it is going to trace a path. What path? That path is what we call as the locus. And its equation is what we are looking for. Okay, so I would like you to attempt this question first. Remember the healthy practice. The healthy practice is, we always call the point which is changing as h comma k. Okay, don't start calling it as x comma y in the beginning itself. even though in this case it will not hurt you. It will not hurt you. But let's stick to our healthy practice. Let me put the poll on. Most of you would like to vote. Very good, Pranav. Awesome, awesome. So most of you have gone. Oh, I'll not tell which option, else everybody will start voting on that. Let's have one more minute just to wrap things up. Okay, let's wrap this up in another 15 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. Okay, so there is almost a tie between option B and option C. As you can see, okay, 44% and 38%, they differ only by one vote. Okay, anyways, see, first of all, answer this small thing of mine. Are A and B parameters? As you can see in the question, there's A and B also. Are they parameters? No, only T is a parameter. So whatever are not the parameters, they will definitely appear in your answer. Don't worry about that. Okay, so all constants are not termed as parameters. So here A, B, T, they were constants, but T was the one which was varying. A and B are some fixed values which are not going to change. So fixed values will definitely be there in your answer. Get this statement of mine. Okay, the parameters should definitely be not there in your answer. So as you can see in all the options, A and B are present. All A and B are present. Okay. Now, first of all, what's the relationship between the coordinates of the vertices and the centroid? So we know that H is equal to A cos t plus B sin t plus 1 by 3. Okay. And K would be A sin t minus B cos t plus 0 by 3. Okay. So now from here I can say 3h minus 1 is A cos t plus B sin t. Okay, and here 3k will be equal to A sin t minus B cos t. Correct? Okay. Now, in my mind, what is the principle that is running on? What is the bottom line of solving locus questions? The bottom line of solving locus question is Somehow I want to relate HNK, and there should be no parameters to be seen. Okay, that is the bottom line. Right, Hariharan? I have to eliminate T, thereby, thereby striking a relationship between H and K. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is my common sense, my experience of dealing with trigonometry says that let us square them and add them. Now that hint is also there in the options. Okay, if you see in the options, they have, you know, squaring and adding things happening. Okay, so options also give you a kind of hint. So when I do that, let's say I do this. Okay, this square of this will be a square cos square t, b square sine square t. Okay, plus 2ab cos t sine t, and this will be a square sine square t, b square cos square t, minus 2ab sine t cos t. If you add them, you will end up getting something like this. Okay, please note these two will add up to give you a square, these two will add up to give you a b square, while these two will get cancelled off. And as you can see, this has safely eliminated my parameter t. Now the last step, which is the customary step, is replace h with an x, k with a y, and you're done. Which option says that? Let's check. Option C. Yes, option C is the right option. Oh my goodness. Janta was wrong, that means. Many of you went for B. I mean, maximum vote went to B. Come on, Janta, what is happening? HSR, your exams have started. HSR. HSR. Monday. Guys, let me tell you something very important here. First exam of 11th is always a special exam. I have seen this from my past. First exam of 11th is always very special. I'm not scaring you. That's why I've used the word special here. Okay. So, because most of you would be in your class 10th mode still, right? So, my experience is, I'll tell you my story. Uh, I got almost 95% in my class 10th. Okay. And this number swapped in my class 11th. Okay. So 95 say become 59. But it gave me a lot of learning. And after that, I was like, back to 90s. So, yeah, it happens when you are already, coming from class 10th and you've never faced, exam like this, where the syllabus concepts are very deep. Okay. School is still manageable, but when it comes to KBPOI and all, you'll realize that things are at a different trajectory altogether. What, sir? You are scaring us. Monday exam, we are already scared. I mean, it requires that seriousness, Madhav, right? Like I was thinking, a 10th exam, it will be like 10th exam only, something I'll do and get 95, 96, but it didn't turn out to be that. So which paper do you have on Monday, Pranav? Anurag, all of them are circles, by the way. Yeah. Oh, you have maths only. Oh, awesome. So YPR, what about you? Your exams are already on? Oh yeah, it was already on. It is about to get over, I believe. Over only. Why you people are at a phase difference from other NPS school? Your summer holidays will be different. Your exams will be different. Why is that so? Nothing like that, Shreyas. Every year it happens that I've been engaged with NPS Yeshwantpur for the last 2 years. All the schedule is different. I mean, their closing day for school will be different, reopening day will be different from other NPS. I know that that's a different management altogether. I understand that. Oh, sorry, I didn't put the poll on. We fo- yeah, you should follow Gregorian Julian calendar. So you guys know Aditya Hombal, and forgot this guy's name. Paras Hegde. Awesome guys. Yeah, yeah. Samyukta, girls would be knowing. Shreya, Samyukta. Okay, let's stop in another 30 seconds. And not you, Aditya. There's one Aditya in Yeshwantpur. Who's going to cancel, HSR or YPR? Shashwat, you're in HSR, right? Oh, you're in YPR. Hey, nobody can cancel the Shara holidays. At least government may cancel. No, no, nothing like that. Okay, in another 15 seconds, we'll stop. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Please vote. Half the class hasn't voted. Please vote, please vote. Okay. Most of you have gone with option number A. Okay. Let's check. Let's check whether A was correct. See, there are 2 points. I'm basically just drawing them, without coordinate axes. Okay, so don't take it to this thing that I have not. I'm showing it. Actually, they are on the x-axis and the y-axis respectively, but I'm not showing it on any coordinate axes. But again, it's a healthy practice to always make coordinate geometry diagram with a proper x and y axis shown. Okay, it's my personal experience that it always is helpful. Okay, now the third vertex C, this guy is always moving, this guy is dancing. Okay, it is moving somewhere, but it is moving in such a way that it is, oh, by the way, this should not be a diagonal of a right angle triangle, this should be a hypotenuse. The right word is hypotenuse. Okay, such that this A and B are hypotenuse of this right angle triangle. Okay, diagonal is not a right word. Okay, so I know there could be so many triangles. Okay, in fact, the C can lie on a circle. By the way, this is a kind of a hint that we can use to solve the question. So it can lie anywhere on the circle. Okay, with A and B as the diameter of it. Okay, anyways, this is something which we can solve otherwise also. So number one step, you always call the point to be h comma k, right? Healthy practice to call the point as h comma k. Now we know that if it is forming a right angle triangle, then AC square plus BC square is AB square. The Bodhiana theorem or Pythagoras theorem, what we call it as. Okay, Pythagoras theorem or Bodhiana theorem. So can I say AC square will be h minus 2 whole square plus k square? BC square will be h square k minus 2 the whole square, and AB square will be 2 square plus 2 square. Correct? This is what we needed. I've got a relationship between h and k. And thankfully, I never assumed anything to solve this, and hence I did not require anything to be eliminated. So when you expand it, you get 2h square, you get 2k square. Correct me if I'm wrong. You get minus 4h, you get minus 4k, and you get 4 plus 4. By the way, right side also is 4 plus 4, so they will get cancelled off. You can lay off the factor of 2 from the entire expression. So you will end up seeing something like this. So x square plus y square minus 2x minus 2y equal to 0 is your desired locus. Okay, I think option number A is the right option. Very good. Most of you got this correct. Can we move on to the next one? Any questions, any concerns? Awesome, very good. Let's have next one. Okay, let's take this question. So there are 2 points A and B whose coordinates are given to you. If angle A minus angle B is theta, then locus of point C of triangle ABC. Okay, they're forming a triangle. Okay, they gave that information pretty late in the question. So ABC. Okay, let me make this time let me make the coordinate axis. It is always helpful to solve questions of coordinate geometry by making coordinate axes. So I'm not solving it. I'm just giving you a diagrammatic representation of the question. So A and B are given to you, and there is some point C, and I don't know where it is lying. Okay, but it is lying in such a way that the difference of this angle A, this is what they're calling as angle A, and this is what they're calling as angle B. Okay, so the difference of these angles is what they are calling as theta. Okay, so this point is a moving point which moves in such a way that the difference of these two angles is a fixed value, which is theta. Okay, before we start this question, tell me one thing: is A a parameter? Is A a parameter that you have been given in the question? Is A a parameter? Yes or no? This is very important, guys, because many people make a mistake here. Right, it is not a parameter. Vaibhav, it is not a parameter. Right? Look in the options. Options has A in it. Correct? If A was a parameter, it would have never appeared in your options. Common sense. Okay. So these 2 points are fixed. So A is a fixed value. A is not a parameter. Is theta a parameter? Is theta a parameter? No, it is not a parameter, because it is given that this is a fixed value, and of course you can see theta appearing in your answer also. Correct? So explicitly there is no parameter involved here till you assume something. Okay, so go ahead, work out this problem. I'll put the poll on. Let's see who gets this correct. What about SSRVM? Adrija, when are your exams starting? Or hoega che? Exam ta hoega che? Oh, they haven't given you dates yet. My God. SSRVM, I went around 3 years back. I remember. Have they made that a road in front of it? It was all muddy that time. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Maybe after the break. Okay. After Durga Pujo. Yeah, I went there, I think in 2015, 16 kind of uh, time. Very good, guys. Let's have 45 seconds more to wrap this up. Okay, let's have 1 more minute to wrap this up. Not getting any answer? Don't worry, Anurag. I'm there to help you. Let's try. Let's try for a few more seconds, half a minute or so, and then we'll discuss it. Okay, and in another 15 seconds, we are going to close the poll and discuss this. So kindly hurry up. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Go, 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 go. Come on, dear students, please vote. Only 11, 12 of you have voted out of 26 of you. Okay, let's close the poll. A very confused response. 2, 3, 4, 4. That kind of a response I have got. Okay, so let me handle this. See, first of all, if you look at the options, options talk about tan and cot, right? See, guys, options are there not only for you to match it, they're also there for you to take a clue from. Okay, my teacher always used to say options, presence of an option solves 25% of the question, rest 75% is your skills. Okay, many times will solve 100% of the question also. So when I see presence of tan and all terms, so idea comes, let's find tan of theta. Okay, that means you're finding tan of theta. Tan of theta means you're finding tan of a minus b. Okay, tan of a minus b is nothing but tan a minus tan b by 1 minus tan a tan b. 1 plus tan a tan b. Correct. Now look at the figure. Tell me what is tan a. So what I'll do, I'll drop a perpendicular over here. Okay. Now anybody can tell that if this point is h comma k, this length is k. Okay, and this length here is a minus h. Would you agree with me or not? Would you agree with me or not on that? This length will be h, this length will be a minus h, because still here it is h and this whole thing was a, so this remaining part is a minus h, isn't it? Isn't it? So tan of a is nothing but k by a minus h. Correct. Similarly, what will be tan of b? Think and tell me. Think and tell me what is tan of b. Correct. K by a plus h. Absolutely. So this is what we had to use. So tan theta is equal to this 1 plus multiplied. It will become k square by a square minus h square. Correct. Okay. Let us try to simplify and see whether it matches with any of the options. By the way, I'm done with my job. I just have to simplify this. So simplification, do it very carefully. 90% of the questions become wrong because of a simplification error. Okay, concept wise nobody will make a mistake. So this will be, if I'm not mistaken, this will be 2kh. Okay, So let's take the denominator to the left hand side and let's bring the tan theta to the right hand side. So a square minus h square plus k square is equal to 2hk cot theta. Okay, so tan when comes down, you can treat it as reciprocal of tan and cot theta. So let's bring everything to the left hand side, oh sorry, right hand side. So h square minus k square, correct? H square minus k square plus 2hk cot of theta is equal to a square. Now we can generalize this. So when you generalize this, you end up getting x square minus y square plus 2xy cot theta equal to a square. Let me check which option says that. X square minus y square. First of all, x square minus y square is here, and plus 2xy cot theta, plus 2xy cot theta. That is option number D. D for Delhi. Oh my goodness. Okay. Yeah, so many a times we do tend to map a question with a formula. That's a very wrong practice. I think Dheeraj sir would have emphasized on this time and again. Never try to map a question to which formula I know. Okay, formula comes later on. Formula comes later on. Okay. Do you choose the design of the house as per the bricks? No, right? Bricks never govern the design of a house. First you design it and then you know chop or cut your or chisel your brick in that way, isn't it? Same with formula. Most of you went for option number C and D, so Janta was not completely wrong. Okay, so C and D got the most amount of votes. Sure, shares. I'll show the last step once again. Yeah, this is the last step. Clear? Dear students, get this locus concept very straightforward, very clear in your mind, because it is going to govern your understanding of your future parts of coordinate geometry. We'll take more questions, don't worry. Would you go up? Whatever, I'm so young. You're sending me up. In my childhood days, you're sending me up. Yeah, I'm just 38 years old child. Done. If done, we can go to the next question. Done. Okay. Let's take the next question. You guys better get this correct, everyone. Yeah, let's take this one. Okay, the question goes like this. There's a point A, 2, 3. There's a point B, minus 4, 5. And there's a point P, which moves in such a way that triangle PAB has area of 12 square units. Find the locus of P. Very good question. So again, I'm not drawing it to scale. I'm not drawing coordinate axes for this. So basically what is happening, that there is a moving point P which moves in such a way that it always maintains the area of this triangle to be 12 square units. It always maintains the area of this triangle as 12 square units. Okay. Find the locus of P. But I don't know, Anurag. Take your call. I can just do one thing. I can put the poll on for you. What, sir? You're not helping us, sir. I'll help you. First try. First try. 3 minutes is definitely you should try. 2 minutes, 3 minutes, whatever is your timing. No response so far. Almost 1.5 minutes gone. Okay, never mind. Take your time. I'm waiting. Take a clue from the options. Take a clue. Okay, somebody has voted for one of the options. Okay, Pranav, we'll discuss. Good try. Nice, nice, nice. Guys, 20 seconds more to wrap this up. But if you want, I can extend this by another 10 seconds. So 30 seconds more. Five, four, three, two, one, go. Okay. Many of you are not choosing to vote. No problem. We'll discuss it. Most of you have gone with option B. Okay. Let us check. See, Anurag, Heron's formula is to be applied when you know the length of the sides. If you know the coordinates, it's better to use the tic-tac-toe or the shoelace formula that we had discussed the other day, the shoelace or the staircase formula. When you know the vertices, why we want to find the length unnecessarily when we can find our answer by the use of vertices? Okay. So Heron formula is of course a very good formula, but it is useful when you have been provided with the length of the sides. When you have been provided with the coordinates of the vertices, it's better to go with the staircase formula. So what does the staircase formula say? Staircase formula says, remember I had given you a symbol like this and you know how to read the symbol also. So we normally, okay, let's say I call this as h comma k. So this is a method to evaluate the area of a triangle when you know its vertices. So mod of this is given to us as 12. Okay. So first of all, what I will do is I'll take this 2 on the other side and make it 24. Make it 20. Okay. Now, let's use our tic-tac-toe formula. So tic-tac-toe or staircase formula, whatever you want to name it. Okay, this formula, this. Okay, so you have 10, you have 10, you have minus 4k, you have 3h, minus, this is minus 12, this is 5h, this is 2k. Okay, this mod is given to us as 24. Fine. So if you simplify it, you get 22. You get a minus 6k. Okay, and you get minus 2h. Mod is equal to 24. If you want, you can drop a factor of 2 also from here. So you'll get 11 minus h minus 3k is equal to 12. Okay. Now, of course, this is not given to me in the options. Option doesn't talk about any mod thing, right? So probably they have squared both the sides. That's why x square, y square terms, xy terms are coming up. So that's why I said take a clue from the options. So square both sides. Okay. So when you square both sides, you get 121, you get h square, you get 9k square, you get minus 22h, minus 66k, plus 6hk, and this side I'll have 144. Okay, so let's simplify this. So h square plus 9k square plus 6hk minus 22h minus 66k, and I think you'll get minus 23, or let's say equal to 23. Okay, so now I have struck a relationship between h and k. The only step left is generalize. So it will become x square 9y square 6xy minus 22x minus 66y equal to 23. Okay, is this there in the options? Let's check. It's D. Oh, it's D. Janta, what was your answer? Oh, Janta went for B. Janta was incorrect. Option D was correct. So Pranav was correct. Absolutely, Pranav. Very good. Okay. Can we have one more question? Last question, just to summarize this concept on a positive note. Anybody wants me to go back? Okay. Okay. So, oh, sorry. So let's go back. Let's go back. There are some locus questions, but I will take them with you when I have done some more concepts with you. So let me figure out a locus question that you can do right now. Right now. Sorry, I'm taking a bit of time, but I was looking for one question that you can do right now. Okay, so let me give you a question. Let's say there is a point C which moves in such a way, which moves in such a way, that the centroid of triangle ABC, okay, where A is given to you as 2 comma minus 3 and B is given to you as minus 2 comma 1, always lies on 2x plus 3y equal to 1. Okay, then locus of C is option A, 3x plus 2y equal to 5. Option B, 2x minus 3y is equal to 7. Option C, 2x plus 3y is equal to 9. And option D, 3x minus 2y is equal to 4. First of all, read the question again. Try to understand what the question is trying to tell you and what the question is demanding from you, and then pick up your pen. Okay, so all of you have read the question. So this point C is a moving point, it is not fixed. Okay, whereas A and B are two fixed points. Okay, now this point C is moving in such a way that the centroid of this triangle, okay, that is moving on this line, the line that is given to you in the question, 2x plus 3y equal to 1. Okay, so as you are changing your C, as you're moving your C, this centroid is moving on this line. Are you getting my point? Okay, so along what path are you moving C such that you are ensuring your centroid to be always moving on that line? Let me put the pole on. Let me put the poll on. I think Pranav has given the answer. Very good, Pranav. Hariharan, sorry, I missed out your this thing. Yes, the previous two lines that you got were parallel to the base. So what I did, I got the equation of pair of lines. You'll come across a concept very soon in coordinate geometry, which we call as pair of straight lines. So when you squared both the sides, see guys, I'm talking about the previous question. Don't get me wrong. So Hariharan has given a response on the chat that he thought that the C point will be moving parallel to AB. You are absolutely correct, Hariharan. There is no doubt about your thought process. So what I did was I multiplied both the lines to get a pair of straight lines. Okay, because of the options. Yes. So when we squared it, you basically ended up multiplying the two lines that you would otherwise get had you solved them individually. Aditya. So Aditya, get rid of the mod. You'll get two lines, one with a plus sign, other with a minus sign. Correct. Correct. Now bring it to the general form. What is the general form? You'll study very soon in straight lines and multiply it. You'll end up getting the very same answer that I had got on the previous slide. Check this as a homework if you want. Okay, very good. Let's wrap this up in another 30 seconds. Yes, a pair of straight lines would become a second degree equation. We don't call it as a quadratic, we call it as a second degree equation. Okay. You will learn later on that your circle equation, parabola equation, ellipse equation, hyperbola equation, pair of straight line equation, they are all categorized by a second degree equation. Okay, so we'll stop in another 10 seconds. So please vote everybody. We'll check Madhav. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. Guys, at least 50% of the class, please vote. I understand Monday there is an exam. Monday there is a Sunday, a whole Sunday for you. The what sir, Sunday Dheeraj sir will take. Okay, so let me stop here. Share the result. Most of you have gone with C. C for cat. Okay. So let us discuss this. See, let us call this point to be h comma k. Okay. So G coordinates would be h plus 2 minus 2 by 3 and k minus 3 plus 1 by 3. Right. So G will be h by 3, k minus 2 by 3. Correct. Now, ideally, this should satisfy this equation. This should satisfy this equation, right? So 2 times x, 3 times y is equal to 1. Correct. Let us multiply throughout with a 3. Okay. So 2h plus 3k is equal to 9. Okay. Time to generalize this. When you generalize this, you get 2x plus 3y equal to 9 as your required answer. Which option says so? Which option says so? Which option says so? Option C says so. C is correct. Easy question. Easy question. Okay. Never mind. So